Welcome back to the second part of the 5th submission. We've just finished showing the first 13 books of the submission, which were all Amazing Spider-Man. Some fantastic results in there. If you haven't watched it, go back and have a look. So let's hope it continues this time. If you're new here, welcome. If you're coming back, thank you. Make sure you subscribe, like, all those good things. What we're going to do now is what we normally do, which is go through each book. I'm going to show it because I have it. It's not a retrospective. I haven't sold them yet. I'm trying to get this done before they go online and get grabbed up. Each book, I will tell you how much it cost me, what I did to it, if it was notable in any way, what my grade expectation was, and then we'll show you what CGC gave me in return. So yeah, 12 books in this one, and if you've watched the last couple of videos, you'll know that there is one of these books has had a grade bump, grade bump into higher than I expected, which has pushed it into a higher value. So I've had to pay CGC extra fees because the book was considered to be much more valuable. First time that's happened, which is great. I'm excited to get to that one and show you. So let's see if it's this one. Batman number 294. So this book only cost me $13. And in fact, most of that was just sort of shipping and taxes because it was actually given to me as a free book by Whatnot Seller. I bought another book, Batman 263, and a few others, and he often gives free books with his to his buyers. This one arrived and I thought it looked really good. I thought it looked sharp, a couple of little ticks on it. And even a 9.6 has actually had some value. So I thought, let's see how we go. So I worked it over a little bit, had a few ticks, cleaned it up, and I thought it was going to be a 9.6 with a small chance of a 9.8. Now, 9.8 book has a fair bit of value in it for this issue, as does a 9.6, has some decent value. So expecting 9.6, send it to CGC, and they said 9.6. So yeah, really good outcome for effectively just paying shipping and taxes on this one, and it has some decent value, and I'm hoping to sell this one for a bit of profit. Moving on. So the second book in the submission should be very familiar to you if you're a Daredevil fan or if you're a Frank Miller fan. This is like from the late 70s. Daredevil 158. It's a newsstand, but they weren't quite officially a newsstand at that stage, so it's just seen as Daredevil 158. It is actually Frank Miller's, I believe it's Frank Miller's first cover published, might be first professional published cover, so he must have had some work done. He must have had some work published that he hadn't been paid for prior to this. So Frank Miller, legend of the game, and yeah, this is like an iconic cover by an iconic artist. So I actually paid a fair bit for this book. I paid $150 because it looked great. Had some minor ticks to the spine and some minor wear to the top of the spine. And there's a few creases and bends around on the front cover. I thought it was going to come somewhere in the near mint. I thought it would be a 9.4 after I was done with it. I cleaned all the ticks up as much as I could and softened them, and the corners look pretty sharp. I put a fair bit of work into it because it cost me a fair bit. As I've said before, I'm happy to pay good money for good books. So yeah, send to CGC hoping for a 9.4. So yeah, got an email saying that my credit card had been charged because the book had gone into a high value band. And there were I think there were only 2 or 3 books in submission it could have been, and this was one of them. And then, yeah, when I found out, I was stoked because this book is just iconic. One of only a couple of hundred books on census in 9.8 range. You know, it's got the black dark cover. The back's light, but it just looks great. Looks great. So really happy to have that in a 9.8. Yeah. So I mean that's paid pretty much for a lot of the submission. So someone's going to be very happy to get that book. Yeah, great outcome. Let's hope it doesn't end there. Next up we have Daredevil 160 newsstand edition. So by this stage, in later 1979, they were identifying as newsstands. Received this one after it cost me $9 from this online seller who was liquidating his collection, as was the last book. It had a staple tick, which always annoys me because I never know how harshly they're going to grade it. Had a small mark and a possible bit of ink on the front cover. I can't remember if I can see it now. But I didn't think it was going to be an issue because it was just negligible and it didn't feel like it was gunk or anything. So, I worked it over, cleaned it. $9 book. I was expecting to come back in a 9.4 to 9.6 range. Otherwise, looked pretty good and sharp, as you can see. CGC had a look at it and they said, just on a roll, on an absolute tear here. So Daredevil 160 newsstand and 9.8. Thank you very much. So yeah, this book from $9 to 260 or whatever the FMV is at the time of this submission coming back to me. Yeah, just smashing it out of the park. So happy to be doing well. It's a bit of a key issue as well. Another Frank Miller cover. Stoked. Moving on, surely all good things come to an end. To Inhumans #1 from 1975. I picked this book up from a different online vendor, so one of the few books that wasn't from these two sellers. $22. It cleaned up okay. I thought it still had a couple of ticks on top of the spine, and the bottom right corner was a bit soft on both sides. I can still see it, so I'll show you here. You can see it just looks a little bit white and soft. I thought that would hold it back. So I sent it to CGC expecting between a 9.2 to a 9.4. $9.8. So that's a great result for that book. $22 to, again, 180 or whatever it is. Yeah, and a great cover from 1975. Next book, Silverhawks #1, newsstand edition, I think it's from 1987. This one cost me a bit more. It cost $77 because I thought it looked really good. It looked sharp, clean. I thought it was going to be a real contender. Unfortunately, when I got it, it had a couple of ticks, but it had a very light crease on the back cover near the middle. I cleaned it up and cleaned up some tanning, and I thought it was going to max out around 9.2, maybe 9.4 because of that light crease. So sent it to CGC, expect 9.2, 9.4, and they said, where's the 9.8? 9.6. So a bit higher than I was expecting, which is great. Just have a look at the grader notes here because we haven't had to look for a while. Spine stress lines, so that's fine, that's fair. Like I said, I had a couple more spine stress lines and I can see them there. Yeah, good outcome on the book. Next up, Spawn 184. This is a cover by, I can't remember his name. I have to look it up. Brian Haberlin. I knew there was a special reason for this one. So this is a great cover. And I paid $52 for it. Okay, so I must have liked it online because that's a fair bit. I couldn't see anything wrong with it when it came. And so it looked pretty clean. And the back, the back is black. So in high grade, this book retains some value because it's just rarer to get them in the higher grade. So yeah, I sent it to CGC, actually hoping for a 9.8 because I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. 9.8, back on it. So another great outcome. I've had a lot of white pages as well, which is fantastic. So yeah, happy to have that in 9.8, and its new owner will love it. And you can see the darkness of the back cover as well. It's quite black. Moving on to Transformers #3. I don't come across Transformers books very often in high grade. This was from the seller who was liquidating his collection. $34, and it had a couple of ticks and a bit of rub on the spine, which I thought was minor. The only other issue was the back cover corner had a bit of damage and some softish sort of edges. I'd say its best, I thought its best was probably going to be in a 9.6, but it was probably going to be 9.4, just the accumulation of the little issues. It's a great red cover featuring Spider-Man and Transformers, number 3 in the 4-issue limited series, which went for like 50 issues or whatever it was. So yeah, hopeful of a 9.4 for this. CGC had a look and said 9.8. Wow. Wow. So that's a great book to get 9.8. Wish I came across Transformers books more often in high grade, because they actually have a bit of value. Moving on to my good friend, Venom Lethal Protector #1. I laugh if you haven't seen my previous videos, go back. It's the cardstock foil embossing cover that is an absolute nightmare for me. I bought this one from another online seller and it had a few things on it. There's nothing I could do. I gave it a good press. I managed to not destroy it and add to the wear and tear. I managed to not put moisture on the front cover and then heat it in to destroy it. In fact, the less I did to this book, the better. So I submitted it. I thought it was going to come back as a 9.8, but probably a 9.6. I have to go check the press in a minute. And sent to CGC hopeful of a 9.8, but expecting 9.6, which is what they agreed with. So 9.6 in another cardstock cover. You know, my nemesis continues to haunt me. So $42 if I didn't mention it. So made a little bit of profit on that one. So that's okay. Moving on. Web of Spider-Man #32. This is a great Mike Zett cover. One of the best Web of Spider-Man covers, if not the best. If this comes back as a 9.8, I will be keeping it. And if it's not, I will keep going with others until I get one. This is one book that I will keep in a 9.8. It cost me $33 and the front cover was fantastic. It just looked beautiful. This was from a different online seller. But unfortunately, when I looked at the back, there was a large tick, went on an angle, broke color, you know, the kind of thing that almost looks like it could be seen as a crease. And I thought after I fixed it, make sure everything else was tidy, corners were sharp, the best it could come back with was a 9.2 to 9.4. 9.2 if it was a crease, 9.4 if it was seen as a significant sort of tick. Sent to CGC expecting in that range and got a 9.4. So on the upper range of my expectations, unfortunately are a 9.8. Let's have a look at the graders notes here. They are spine stress lines to the back cover, which is exactly right. So you'll be able to see it. See if I can see it first. Oh yes, up the top there. So I'm not sure you can see through the reflections, but there is a bit of white there. So, and that was the only real issue with that book, but it was a significant one, which was unfortunate. Moving on to one of the last 3 books in the submission. Uncanny X, well, it's not actually, it's the X-Men 128 Newsstand Edition. This was from the online seller who was liquidating his collection. It cost me $21. And I thought the ticks were going to be too heavy to keep it, to make a 9.8. It was always going to be limited to a 9.6 or under. The rest of it looked pretty good. Gave it some pressings and cleaning it really well. The corners are pretty sharp. They look great looking at it here. Yeah, I was thinking it was going to come back as a 9.6. Sent it to CGC, expecting a 9.6. And got a 9.6. So a good outcome. I think that book was maximised as much as it could have been. Yeah. Last book from 1979. Had a few wins from 1979 today. Next book, moving to 1980, is X-Men 136 Direct Edition. If you watched my last submission, I had a very high grade version of this in a newsstand come back, which was great. So this was, Jesus, this was so expensive. This was $154. I've overpaid for this book. I must have thought it was going to be a 9.8 or bust. And the only issue is that the front cover in the top right had a bit of a micro crease in it, so a tiny little crease, which will probably limit it to 9.6 and hopefully no worse. I actually rushed this into the submission. I've got a note here. I had another Wolverine book, which will be the next submission, which I wasn't happy with. So I had to put this one quickly into the submission because I was ready to go with 25 books. And I didn't have any time to rest. So I was curious to see if it would regress at all. No regression. And yeah, expected CGC expecting 9.6 and received a 9.6. So another spot on outcome. So good book. I'm sure it'll move pretty quickly. And gee, it looks nice. Yeah, no regression whatsoever. Lucky. Next and last book is X-Men 173, a great cover featuring Wolverine and Rogue. So this book only cost me $15, a lot better than $154. It had a bit of miswrap, as you can see. It was quite a bit of miswrap and a small dink on the spine, which I fixed up. It was a very nice looking copy by the time I was done with it. Pressed it, fixed it, made sure there were no ticks. This was the last book in the submission and one that I wanted to see. I keep pushing these things to see what it's going to take to have particular defects actually graded down. So you can see there's a fair bit of miswrap on this book and it's not white. So I submitted this as CGC thinking it was going to be a 9.6 because of that miswrap, because otherwise the book was great. It cost me $15, I think I already mentioned that. And CGC said 9.4, interesting. So the grader notes for this one. Miscut cover, the one and only comment on it. And I think that's fair. So now we know exactly how far CGC can be pushed before they will downgrade a book significantly for a miscut cover, which is pure manufacturing, but it is definitely detracting from the look of the book. So I'll sell this one or give it away with one of the other slabs. Yeah, good lesson. So that concludes the 25 book submission. A fantastic, fantastic outcome. One that I don't expect to replicate anytime soon or certainly in the next few. And just amazed to have it. So overall, the numbers will be on the screen. I spent about just over $2,000 on these books, including grading and shipping and all those things. I was expecting to get a value around $3,000 and then sell them and a few fees. But what I did get was actually closer to 4.5. So that is a fantastic, fantastic return on this submission. And 3 books stand out to me. Daredevil 158. And from the first part of the submission, Amazing Spider-Man 310 newsstand and Amazing Spider-Man 226 newsstand. Sorry, 230 newsstand, the Juggernaut cover. Just fantastic. So I hope you enjoyed watching this as much as I enjoyed unveiling it. I'm glad I had time to do the books themselves rather than retrospective. It just always feels a bit more tactile. So if you like this, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, and check in for my next submission. Thanks and have a great day.